Hello, everybody. It's Philly Kuts with another comic book haul, the Hump Day Haul number 60. I got my bag of trick-or-treats. Except there's comics inside. You know, every week I let you guys know what comic books I've bought for the week. So, first, let me say, oh well, about the New York Metis. My team, they blew it in 5 games. They tried, but Kansas City was the better team. Just want to say, I think they made the right decision, the Mets, leaving Harvey in at the time. He was pitching a gem of a game in that Game 5, and it really looked like he was going to close out that whole game, but we should have brought in Familia. But oh well, hindsight is 20/20. The Mets, a lot of their bats didn't show up. Murphy, who had an unbelievable playoff up to the World Series, just was absent. And Cespedes, where were you, man? Where were you? All right, enough about baseball. Let's get into comics. First with DC, as usual. Number 46 of Green Lantern came out this month. And Hal Jordan still has to figure out what has happened to all the other Green Lanterns in the universe. In order to do that, he has to repair the source wall that there's a crack, a breach in the source wall, which is kind of like a barricade at the end of the universe. This crack, if left untended, could spell the end of the universe as we know it. And in order to seal this hole in the source wall, Green Lantern has to recruit the help of the Black Hand and also Relic. So 2 big-time foes of the Green Lantern. They all have to work together. Apparently the Black Hand is the one responsible for creating this breach in the source wall. And in doing so, Black Hand has inherited this Medusa power that allows him to turn planets into stone. Oh my. But this has left Black Hand deeply depressed because he can no longer make the dead rise. That's his usual power. He is able to create zombies at his disposal. But now he's unable to do that because everything he touches turns to stone. So Green Lantern ends up getting in a fight with Black Hand, and he's able to kind of seal him up in like this coffin carrying case, and he carries him over to the Relic to get some answers. That's where the Relic kind of hypothesizes about this whole breach in the source wall and Black Hand inheriting the power of the source wall. And they end up having to try to just get along, people. There's a little bit picture. There's a picture that shows a little bit better perspective of how big the Relic is compared to Hal Jordan and the Black Hand. So, pretty interesting issue. I'm liking it. I was also liking the interactions between Virgo and Trapper. They're really starting to bond and come along together. Earlier on in this series, Trapper, who's this red fellow here, actually had kept Virgo hostage and was kind of turning him in for a bounty. Virgo is like this prince of another world. So it's kind of interesting that these two are starting to bond, and the team that Hal Jordan has formed is really starting to, take cohesion. They're really becoming this cohesive force, which is really interesting as well. I'm not going to tell you guys how it turns out between Relic and the Black Hand and whatnot, but the Black Hand does revive himself, and he's none too happy about being captured by the Green Lantern. And they end up getting in a little tiff, Black Hand, Green Lantern, and Relic. Sorry, I just really felt like chewing gum during this playthrough for some reason. I don't know. I just kind of felt like doing it. All right. Detective Comics number 46. Okay, so this is a one-shot issue that is kind of peculiar. Batman Commissioner Gordon Batman, Mecha Batman, or whatever you want to call him, Rabbit Ears Batman. He teams up with the Justice League on a detective mission of all things. In the Himalayas, corpse of a giant 200-foot-tall being is found. There you can see its skull. And the Justice League needs to recruit the detective powers of Jim Gordon to help solve the crime. So it's really an interesting read. It really kind of shows the detective prowess, the detective acumen of one Jim Gordon. And it kind of takes a few twists and turns. There's a big hand of that being to, again, give you perspective. Jim Gordon is skilled, man. He is definitely a skilled detective. Kind of puts him, this issue kind of puts him up on par with Bruce Wayne, you know, Batman's detective skills. He really does a great job. He does a great job piecing together what this being possibly could be. And also, there is another living being that is in this cave as well, and I'm not going to let you guys know what relation this being has to the dead one, but there he is, coming out of the cave wall. He is pretty pissed off, and he does battle with the Justice League, and yeah, it is what it is, a one-story, one-shot. Kind of reminds me of like an old-school 80s, you know, one-and-done type deal, and like I said before, I don't mind these one-and-done comics, you know. I kind of try to rack my brain each month remembering what has happened from issue to issue, and let's be honest, most of the time I don't remember shit. So I'm always thankful when comics kind of, you know, run down what has happened in the last issue in a paragraph or two. Kind of sucks when you're reading the graphic novel all in one shot, because it does get repetitive when they keep repeating that kind of stuff, but you know, other significance to this issue is it's the first time that Jim Gordon's Batman has left Gotham, and it is also the first time he has had some positive interaction with other superheroes. In the Superman, or in the Batman Superman comic, which I guess kind of takes place in an alternate universe, but it still has Mecha Bat. Mecha Bat and Superman are not friends with one another. They do not like one another, and there's a lot of issues there between them. But however, in this issue, that just doesn't exist. Because I guess, you know, it's an alternate reality and whatnot. Lobo, number 12, Cullen Bunn. I thought that this was supposed to be done with and over with. I thought that Lobo was getting canceled. And I'm not sure if it is. I'm completely not sure if it is. This book is taking a break from the whole Sinestro Rising storyline. If you haven't been following Lobo, Lobo has been hired by Sinestro to take out various lanterns in the universe because Sinestro is fully aware that the Green Lanterns are absent from this current universe. And he's taking full advantage of that. He's building up his army. He's created yellow manhunters. And he's just recruiting yellow lanterns everywhere, and he's utilizing the services of Lobo to eliminate the competition. However, in this issue, there's a break from all that, and Lobo has been hired by a person, I'm not going to say who, to kind of disrupt this drug trade operation. As you can see, there they are, kind of packaging it. It's like a powdered yellowish cocaine. And this is some pretty bad, nefarious stuff. Lobo kind of goes in there, guns blazing as usual, slicing, causing mass destruction, and he creates dust clouds of this drug all over the place, and it ends up affecting him. And apparently this drug has some severe psychotic effects on its user, and Lobo is not immune to that. They actually have an interesting sequence where he kind of talks about his body, and it goes into this X-ray vision kind of thing here. His body is just trying to cough this crap out of him. And the psychosis that this causes is very intense, and it causes him to have some hallucinations of evil people from his past. In particular, a woman who is green. I'm not going to give away any more hints other than that. I will give away one other hint. It was kind of a controversial storyline that Cullen Bunn had written recently involving demon seductress tropes. Well, anyway, he starts hallucinating and starts seeing that woman everywhere and anywhere, and it causes him a lot of problems. So it's interesting storyline, an interesting break. It's also kind of like a one-and-done filler kind of issue, but like I said, I don't mind. You know, sometimes these one-and-done stories, if done correctly, are pretty good. And then, spoiler alert, in the end, they indicate that the next issue, it looks like Sinestro's contract may have been extended to include Hal Jordan. So it's kind of cool how all these are kind of merging together. Lobo, Sinestro, Green Lantern. If anybody knows what is up with the fate of Lobo, is it going to keep going or isn't it? I would love to know, because I'm actually thinking of sticking with this comic. You know, I've been reading it now for about the past 3 issues, I think. And I first started reading it, the latest annual that it had. I think it was the first annual, right? Yeah, they're only on issue 12. You know, because of the Sinestro crossover and whatnot. And I've really grown to like Lobo. He's pretty badass, and he's kind of like DC's version of Wolverine. You know, a lot of the superpowers that he has and whatnot. Okay, and then finally, from DC Comics, let me get my cheat sheet up here because I'm not up to date with reading this one, was Batman Arkham Knight number 10. And as you can see on the cover, Batman looks like he's being thrown down or throwing out of a building or something. And yes, you do see all the dates. He is dealing with Julian Day, the Calendar Man. And the Calendar Man, this is part 2 of this story arc, Burning the Days, part 2 of 2. The Calendar Man has been terrorizing Bruce Wayne as of late, utilizing the services of Solomon Grundy as his muscle. But there's not one Solomon Grundy, there's 7. Go figure. I don't know how he's been doing that. They don't really explain it. I don't know if he's cloned Solomon Grundy. I don't know what's going on. But Calendar Man has also been up to no good, kind of working with Scarecrow in the background. Scarecrow is kind of influencing Calendar Man. He's kind of got a prong in the fire with Calendar Man. I don't want to give too much away there, but Calendar Man has done some very nefarious things in this issue. He's kidnapped a baby to kind of keep Batman on edge, and he's also poisoned 365 of Gotham's citizens. Can you guess why it's 365? Jesus Christ, I hope you can. So it's kind of an interesting storyline in here. It's pretty jam-packed. The one thing about the issues that I have read of Arkham Knight is that they have a ton of stuff going on in these issues. And these issues are just chock full of, you know, classic Batman villains. It's almost kind of overloaded in a sense, you know, because they kind of just bounce around from, you know, supervillain to supervillain. So a lot of times the story isn't very well developed, but it's a lot of fun. I'm going to catch up on reading these. I'm up to like issue number 8 now or something, so I'm only a couple issues behind. And I'm hoping to score during Black Friday or during, you know, pre-Christmas, that I'm going to be able to score a good deal on Batman Arkham Knight for Xbox One. You know, get a good deal on that and the DLC. I'm hoping to get it for under like $50 if they have some kind of crazy deal. If they do, I'll bite on it, and then I'll be kind of well-versed in the whole prequel, because that's what this is, the official prequel to the Arkham Knight finale, folks. The artwork in here is pretty good, too. There's a few different artists, Victor Bogdanovich and Richard Friend. They do a pretty good job. I like the way they make Batman look. He's pretty gritty. He's pretty grimy looking in this. Looking pretty badass. Scarecrow and Calendar Man look pretty interesting. Here's Scarecrow. Looking pretty nefarious and creepy. So, yeah, Batman Arkham Knight, man. I'm trying to keep up on it. So, let me know if you're reading that. Okay, my only Marvel selection, as you guys know, I'm pretty much have only been buying Star Wars comics. We have Star Wars number 11. As you can see, Chewbacca is on the cover. He is a big part of this issue. Because all these books now, you know, the Darth Vader book, Star Wars, they just came out with a Chewbacca miniseries. All this stuff is kind of, you know, merging together for that Vader Down event. I think it's called Vader Down. There's going to be like some 6-part Vader Down crossover event with all the Star Wars books. Anyway, you got 3 different stories kind of going on in here. Luke Skywalker is on this special moon. It's called the Smuggler's Moon, where he has been captured by Grakkus the Hutt. Grakkus the Hutt is a souped-up version of Jabba the Hutt because he's much more mobile, because he has these cool little metallic legs that allow him to move and maneuver. As you can see in that far shot, kind of looks like a big fat centipede. He has a penchant for Jedi artifacts, and he needed to recruit the services of Luke Skywalker. I mean, he had to capture him and then get the services of Luke Skywalker to kind of unlock these Jedi boxes that contain secrets of the Jedi Order. You know, he's a collector. He wants to know as much as he can about the Jedi Knights. Luke's enslaved. Grakkus the Hutt wants to make money off him, so he has this Colosseum, and he is forcing Luke Skywalker to fight. Behold, the last of the Jedi. You know, he's a salesman. Those Hutts, they're pretty grimy. They're greasy. They know how to sell things. They know how to make money. So that's how he's attracting an audience, you know. Come one, come all. See the last of the Jedi be destroyed by none other than Congo the Disemboweler, who just kind of looks like a variation of that Rancor pit monster in the Return of the Jedi. That's who that reminds me of. So big creature. Chewbacca is involved in this issue because Chewbacca has heeded the call. I believe he found out from Han Solo and Princess Leia that Luke was on this moon. So Chewbacca is paired up, of all people, or droids rather, with C-3PO to try to rescue Luke. But added to the mix, as you can see on this front cover, is a bounty hunter. There we go. That dude is a bounty hunter hired by Jabba the Hutt to bring in Chewbacca. Then, in the third portion of the story in this series, you have the ongoing saga of Princess Leia and Han Solo, and Han Solo is in deep shit because apparently he is married to Sana Solo. And they are just bickering and arguing back and forth. It's kind of been going on for like the last 3 or 4 issues. So it's an interesting dichotomy between Solo and this Sana Solo, who's supposedly his wife. I guess it was all some kind of scam that Han Solo was involved in to try to pay back some sort of villain that he owed money to. You know, pretty standard Han Solo, you know, shady scumbaggery. And there's Sana Solo right there. So, pretty interesting. I'm interested to see how it goes. And the next issue is going to be out in 2 weeks. So, I guess they're ramping it up for all that Vader Rising stuff. Okay, I got 1 issue from Dark Horse Comics. A new issue. It's a mini-series. New series. Joe Golem, Occult Detective. You got a classic Mike Mignola crew on this. Story by Mike Mignola, Christopher Golden. Artwork of Patrick Reynolds, and of course Dave Stewart, who's on like everything to do with Mike Mignola. I don't know how the guy does all the work that he does. This has just a classic, art-wise, like a classic BPRD book. I mean, I felt like, you know, when I read this, you know, going through this, I felt like I was reading like a BPRD. Just because of the team that's on this. It's just so reminiscent. And basically this takes place in 1950s New York City. It's an alternate universe. 40 years prior, Lower Manhattan has been overtaken by a flood. And this flood has left Lower Manhattan partially submerged in 30 feet of water. Okay? Now, there's some interesting things, scary things afoot that Joe Golem needs to solve. Apparently, there is a creature, there's a little glimpse of him, who has been kidnapping children and dragging them into the canals. So very, very interesting. I'm really looking forward to this. Apparently, this is a prequel to the illustrated novel Joe Golem and the Drowning City, which I've never read. I guess I'm going to try to look for it if, you know, I get a few more issues into this and I really, really like it. So get your Mike Mignola on. Another great series. And there's another glimpse of that creature. So I'm really looking forward to finding out who this creature is, what he is, and getting to know Joe Golem. So Joe Golem, Occult Detective, brand new series. Hop on board, people. Telling you, there's a reason why I get Mike Mignola stuff every week practically, and there definitely is a reason. He's one of my favorite content creators out there. So, God, my hair is a mess, dude. I don't know when I'm going to get my hair cut, but I got to. Look at this thing. I mean, this is just a mangy mane. What can I say? Now, the deal of the week, okay? Image Comics comes through again. 66 pages. No advertisements. $5. Now, ordinarily, I say I don't like paying $5 for single issues, but when you look at the heftiness of this, the beefiness of this, the taco boss rapness of this, the crunch wrap supremeness of this. God, I want Taco Bell. It's got to be the gum I'm chewing. The Monstress. 66 pages. The artwork in here by Sana Takeda is incredible. It just looks wonderful. It's foreboding. It's ominous. This is kind of a high fantasy piece that has to do with the effects of war, that has to do with the effects of racism, that has to do with the effects of, let me see here, genetic engineering. There's all kinds of issues in here. Biological experimentation, genocide. Right in the opening panel, you have this young woman who is being auctioned at a slavery party, if you will. It's like a get-together, and there's people bidding on her. And then the person that buys her is just so mean and condescending and demeaning to her. I don't know, you may want to pause that and read that sequence because it's pretty intense. The writer of this is Marjorie Liu. And I guess she has done some work on the X-Men and Black Widow, which I'm not familiar with. I'm not an an X-Men fan, but that's very good credentials to have. Here's the tagline. Let me read you the tagline because I don't know much about this other than, you know, the tagline seemed interesting and I leafed through it in my shop. You got awesome looking creatures in here. So I'll be honest, I don't know too much, but I fell in love with the artwork leafing through this and the tagline. And I just felt the need for more high fantasy, you know? I just felt a void, you know, that needed to be filled. Anyway, here we go. Steampunk meets kaiju in this original fantasy epic for mature readers as young Micah risks everything to control her psychic link with a monster of tremendous power, placing her in the center of a devastating war between human and otherworldly forces. Okay? So that's it. That's basically what it is. And then in the back, Marjorie gives a brief synopsis of why she is writing this. And it has to do with her Chinese heritage. I can read this very quickly for you. If you want to fast forward through it, go right ahead. But here's what Marjorie writes. I don't know anything about war, not having lived through one, but my grandparents experienced the devastation of war firsthand in China. In their stories, surviving was more horrifying than dying. Surviving required a desire to live more powerful than any bomb or army, a summoning of superhuman resilience to keep going day after day. Starvation, biological experimentation, rape camps, occupation, colonization. What ravaged Europe during World War II also ravaged China and the rest of Asia. And the victims of this horror had to learn how to first survive and then survive the surviving. To be Chinese American meant the war loomed upon the history of my world. I grew up hearing my grandparents tell nightmarish stories, heartbreaking too. Also heroic beyond words. What they endured, I could scarcely imagine. I thought always, if I could only be as strong as them. My grandparents were Cho Chun. I'm a twig in comparison. That's okay. My imagination is strong. And the root of my desire, I finally realized, was to tell a story about what it meant to be a survivor. A survivor, not just of a cataclysmic war, but of racial conflict and its antecedent, hatred. And to confront the question, how does one whom history has made a monster escape her monstrosity? How does one overcome the monstrous of others without succumbing to the rising monstrousness within? So yeah, pretty heavy. I couldn't have worded it any better. Check it out, man. You gotta support comics like Image that do things like this for the reader. I mean, $5, 66 pages. What a start, right? You just can't beat it. Kind of reminds me of when the Autumn Land started. And also Wolf. The first issue of Wolf had a 66-page first issue. Unfortunately, I didn't like it, and I stopped buying it on the first issue, but I got a good feeling about this. And initial reviews have been very, very, very positive. And the artwork, I can't tell you enough how much the artwork just really hits it out the park. It really just creates a great, great atmosphere. So check it out. That's my sleeper pick of the week. Monstrous. Okay, and then finally, as Image giveth, Image taketh away, the final issue of Rasputin, the issues that have been torturing me over the past year, quite simply because Alec Grecian writes in such a minimalistic fashion where half the time there are no words on the page or very few words on the page, and it gets the I can read this in under 2 minutes award. Rasputin finally gets wrapped up. All the crazy ass loose ends in this book, the bouncing between 20th century, present day, 20th century during the JFK assassination days, and then all the way back to the days of when Rasputin was murdered. This kind of details the demise of the Romanov family, who I guess had a big part in the Russian Revolution. And maybe that was my big problem with this book, was that I didn't know enough about Russian history. I didn't know enough about Russian mysticism and the magic that comes with that mysticism. I just didn't know. I'm not educated enough in the subject. And I say that because I'm reading a review, Rasputin number 10, on Sequart Organization. It's written by Ian Daw. And he just, loves this book. And he goes on and on about all the historical significance that it plays and all the inside historical jokes that I guess Alec Grecian has presented in this book. And I'll be honest, it flew all completely over my head. I didn't pick up on any of it, and my only reason for that, I would believe, would be that I just know jack shit about Russian history. So if there's any Russian viewers out there, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. I never had an interest in Russian history, so I didn't know. To me, the story seemed very disjointed. I felt like that the characters, other than Rasputin, weren't developed enough. I didn't have an attachment to any other character in this book, and I barely formed an attachment to Rasputin. And I kept saying to myself, I'm just going to give it one more issue, one more try. What really kept me going was the artwork of Riley Rosmo and Ivan Palencia, the colorist. They work together fabulously. I really loved their artwork. Just the coloring in a lot of the issues. This one isn't really that representative of it, but in other issues they did have some spectacular coloring. Amazing purples and pinks and lavenders. But that's what really kind of kept me going in this series. And I guess what I learned is that I need a lot more than just art to keep me going and to keep me satisfied. That's just the deal. So I'm kind of glad that this is over with. I'm going to be a bit surprised if they can really pull all these strings together. But like I said, I guess I just didn't know enough about Russian history, and I wish I knew that before I got into this. But I take full responsibility, man. I'm learning that if I don't like something after like 2 issues, 3 tops, I gotta let it go. I don't want to fall into that trap anymore, and I especially want to get a bang for my buck. So, all right, dudes, that's it for this week. Let me pick a cover of the week. Let's see here. Covers are not that great, man. I know this week the variant covers for DC are Looney Tunes, but I didn't see any Looney Tune ones that I really cared for. The covers are pretty lackluster, man. I guess I'm going to go with this, man. I'm going to give this the big bump. Monstress. So check this out, man. That's my tip of the week. 66 pages, no advertisements, image. Can you imagine if DC ever did that? I just don't think they ever would, man. The best they do are annuals, man, and the annuals are like $5, but they're chock full of advertisements, right? And then they put out these like Harley Quinn specials that are like $6. Like the last Harley Quinn special was $6. Like what the fuck? All right, dudes, let me know what you're liking, what you're disliking. Thank you. Number 60's in the books. Peace. I'm out. Bye.